Chapter 16. Ashley on Edison TV. Watching Ashley Williams on Edison TV, which is broadcasted in all classrooms of Thomas Edison Junior High School, was like watching a famous network TV newswoman. Her delivery of the news was flawless. She paused at all the right times, added touches of humor, and handled delicate news in such a professional manner. You could really see how her dream of becoming a famous television news anchor would come true. That's why I never would have expected her to do such a mean, horrible, despicable act like she did to me on Edison TV on April 1st, April Fool's Day. And yes, Ashley did make a fool of me big time. This is how it came down. Ashley was co-anchoring with Brad Thorne, and I guess he was in on the little joke too, but I don't think the TV production sponsor, Miss Randolph, was aware of it. I can just imagine Ashley bubbling to Miss Randolph that she had a special treat in store for viewers for April Fool's Day. I'm sure Miss Randolph thought it was going to be a good-natured prank. Ashley flashed her dazzling white smile as she tossed her silky blonde long hair over her shoulder. We all know what day it is today. Right, Brad? It's April Fool's Day, she gushed. To make this special occasion even more exciting, I have a little surprise for you. Did you know that we have a famous writer here at our school? Yes, she's penning her own autobiography. It's entitled The So-Called Life of a Crazy White Girl by ... dot dot dot. I'm not going to reveal the author's name yet. That's the surprise part. What the? I said in utter disbelief. Was I hearing correctly? I was in Miss Gonzalez's classroom and called out in a shaky voice, Miss Gonzalez! What's wrong, honey? She asked me, apparently responding to the tone of fear in my voice. Look, I stammered as I pointed to Ashley on Edison TV. Brad responded, how does this April Fool's game work, Ashley? Well, I'm going to read some works by this author and you're going to guess the author. If you guess wrong, you're an April Fool. Okay, Ashley, Brad said in a commanding voice. I'm ready to play. The first work is a poem and it goes like this. A night to remember. There are nights that are blah. There are nights to forget. There are nights to sleep away, but then, my breath leaving me, there are nights to remember your touch, my hand, your hair as it falls, your eyes that I melt in, the laughs, the warmth, the fun. I hope I can forget those nights of pain and fear and always keep in my heart are a night to remember. Well, Brad, can you make a guess? No, wait, I'll give you another hint. Here's another poem by the same author. You asked me a simple question, and my world stopped. Your eyes took my breath away. Did I know you from a previous life? Am I supposed to know you? Is that why I'm here in New York? To find love for the very first time. You asked me a simple question, and my mind can't stop thinking about you. Brad said, wow, sounds like this person is in love. Ashley said with a voice that couldn't hide her ulterior motives. Oh, I'm sure she is. Okay, Brad, one more, but I'm afraid this is a little weirder than the other poems. Cold. Cold as the frigid air pierces my skin. Cold as a cruel taunt. Cold as my empty heart. Cold as the sharp silver blade. My comforter warms me, oozing hot blood. Just then, Miss Rudolph, the TV production sponsor, interrupted them and said, Ashley, I believe that's all we have time for. But Ashley interrupted her and said in a slightly crazed manner, no, we can't miss all the fun. So who is our mystery writer who seems to like cutting herself and blood? Is it A, Miss Dracula, B, Emily Dickinson, or C, our very own crazy white girl, Nicole Adams? Immediately, the screen on the TV went black, and the students started buzzing with conversation. I felt like the world was closing in on me. Everything around me went dark and blurry. I rushed out the door to the closest bathroom. I had the strongest urge to cut, but I no longer had my razor. I had been feeling so happy for weeks that I no longer kept it on me. I rushed into the bathroom, locked myself in one of the stalls, put my head in my hands and cried and cried and cried. Chapter 17, Skipping School. Nicole, you can't miss another day of school, Aunt Laura chided me. It's already Wednesday, and you haven't been to school one day this whole week. I thought to myself, I'm never going back to that school. Never. Aunt Lori, I'm sick. I'm so cramped up I can barely stand up. I called out to her. She peeked her head into my room and said, Lord, Nicole, what is wrong? Is it that time of month? Yes, that's it, Aunt Lori. Maybe I'll be better for it next week. Next week? Are you out of your mind? You think all of your classes, you have to pass 8th grade so you can go on to ninth grade. You've already missed enough days because of being in the hospital, but the counselors guarantee me that if you attend it every day and pass all of your classes, you'll be promoted. Maybe tomorrow, Aunt Lori. All I know is I can't and I won't go to school today. I offer, letting out a groan to sound sick. Okay, today, she said as she finished buttoning her jacket. I'll get you some pain reliever on my way home from work. Maybe you can call one of your friends to get you your make-up homework. Okay, Aunt Lori. Hey, you better get going. You're going to be late. I was relieved when I heard the door shut. Then there was a knock on my bedroom door. Johnny, oh hi, I said. You don't fool me, Nikki. You're not sick. You just don't want to go to school, and I can't believe you're letting Ashley Williams get to you like this. The longer you stay away, the more she wins, he said. Johnny, I can't and I won't go back to that school. I just can't face anybody. I can't face Blake. I can't face Blondie and Lo because I feel like I let them down. They've all been calling you. You really need to take their calls. No, Johnny, I've been hurt before in my life, and it always happens when I begin to trust people. I was a loner back in South Florida, and I'm going to be a loner in New York, too. I only have 7 more days before the trial, and I plan on never going back to school up until that time. Johnny just shook his head and said, You got it all wrong, Nikki. It's not like that. People got your back. But then he went to school. So that's how it went for the next 7 up until days, up until trial. I didn't speak to Lo. I didn't speak to Blondie. I didn't speak to Blake. I made up excuse after excuse to Aunt Lori why I couldn't go to school. Soon as April 11th, and I was on the plane to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to face the biggest challenge of my life, testifying against Ricardo, my mom's boyfriend. How could I do it when I felt the lowest I had ever felt in my whole life? Chapter 18, The Trial. It was so strange seeing your own mom after so long and seeing her sit on the side against you. She was sitting on the defense side behind Ricardo, while I sat with Aunt Lori and the prosecuting attorney. It was just like I had seen in the movies. There was a jury and a judge, and everyone had to take the witness stand and make an oath to the Bible before testifying. I felt myself crumbling inside. You can't do this, I heard myself saying. You're weak. You're local, remember? My thoughts haunted me. Just seeing my mom and Ricardo made me all the horrible feelings of self-loathing come back. I felt like I was worthless and a nothing. The prosecuting attorney faced Aunt Lori and me. Now, as I explained, we go first. I'll make our opening statement, and then They'll have the chance to make their opening statement. We present our evidence and witnesses first. What witnesses do we have? I asked. But the prosecuting attorney just motioned me to be still as the trial was about to begin. Mr. Morgan was my attorney, and he did a really great job. He said that we would be providing direct evidence to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Ricardo Velasquez was guilty of assault with a deadly weapon upon a minor child. I could see how confusing it would be to be a member of the jury because Ricardo's public defender presented their opening statement. She sounded convincing too. Her name was Miss Sheldon, and she stated that Ricardo was just acting like anyone would by defending his girlfriend, my mother, who was being strangled by me. She said that they would present evidence that would prove I was a rebellious, out-of-control teen who did destructive actions like cutting myself. Any self-confidence I had in my testifying in this trial seeped out of my body, just like when someone let the helium out of a balloon. I felt so low, embarrassed, like running and hiding. Can I go to the bathroom? I asked my attorney. No, not now, unless it's an emergency. Yes, it's an emergency, I said, as quickly as my feet let me. I raced out of the courtroom and into the ladies' restroom. Chapter 19, Surprise Guest. I had such a strong urge to cut myself. I looked around the bathroom stall for any sharp metal. The edge of the toilet paper holder had a little sharp edge sticking out of it. As I was rolling up my sleeve, I heard, "Hey, Nikki, don't you be thinking about doing nothing stupid in there, 'cause we came all the way from New York to kick Ricardo's ass all the way to jail, so don't you be letting us down." "Blondie," I asked, "was I hallucinating? What was Blondie doing here? And don't forget me, Lo, for real." I swung open the bathroom door and saw the best sight I ever saw in my life, Blondie and Lo. "How did you get here?" I asked incredulously. "Well, after that whole Ashley dish you on TV, and when you never came back to school, Miss Gonzalez used money from the poetry club to send us here to support you at the trial. Blake wanted to come here too, but they only had enough money for the two of us since we're your homegirls. We told you, Nikki, we got your back," Lo said. Blondie added, "That's right. What kind of friends would we be if we let Ashley win? We got her all right." "What do you mean?" I asked. "We don't have time for that, Nikki. You up on the stand in a few minutes. You got to get back in there." There were relieved looks on the faces of Mr. Morgan and Aunt Lori as I took my seat next to them. Blondie and Lo sat right behind me about 3 rows back. I was ready now. I felt strong, fortified by the strength of my two friends. I was through being a loner. Together we'd get through this trial. Chapter 20, The Prosecution. I couldn't believe my old DOP teacher, Mr. Martin, took the day off from school to come to my trial and testify on my behalf. It was good to see him. His smile made me feel so good inside. Mr. Morgan said, "Mr. Martin, do you recognize the evidence I'm displaying here to the members of the jury?" Mr. Martin said in that clear, commanding voice he has. "Indeed I do. It is the journal of a former student of mine, Nicole Adams. And can you tell us the circumstances that lead you to turn this journal over to the police?" "Yes. You see, during winter break this past January, Nicole ended up in the hospital, intensive care unit to be exact, with severe head injuries due to a blow of baseball bat swung by the defendant, her mother's boyfriend. When the police came to our school asking us if we had suspected child abuse, I took out Nicole's journal and spoke for her when she couldn't speak for herself." Mr. Morgan continued, "And what did the journal say?" For the next several minutes I heard Mr. Martin read page after page of my journal. I felt terrible hearing those words which detail my horrible life with Mother and Ricardo. In my mind, I compared it to when Ashley read aloud my poems to the students at Thomas Edison Junior High School. With Ashley, she just read my poems to make me look like a fool and make people hate me. When Mr. Martin read my journal aloud, it brought back so many horrible memories. I did feel a little ashamed of my former life, but I felt very happy that it caused the police to arrest Ricardo and hopefully now convict him. Words can hurt or heal. I was a believer in the power of words. After each witness that the prosecution presented, the defense had a chance to cross-examine them. That was the part I was dreading. Mr. Morgan and I had rehearsed the question he was going to ask me, and he gave me an idea of what type of questions the defense would ask. After Mr. Martin testified, the prosecution presented doctor testimony complete with x-rays and other medical evidence. Then I heard the two words I was dreading. Nicole Adams? I walked head down to the witness stand. I felt like I was on trial. My mother glared at me, looking like she was sorry she ever had me for a child. Her glare was contrasted by the encouraging smiles of Aunt Lori, Mr. Martin, and of course, Blondie and Lo. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do, I answered. Mr. Morgan asked, can you please tell the court and members of the jury the circumstances that led up to the incident on the night of December 27th? Life with Mom wasn't so bad when it was just the two of us, but then she let her boyfriend Ricardo move in with us, and he was mean, and he had a temper, and he liked to make fun of me. There I said it. I said it all with one breath, because if I paused at all, I'd lose the courage to go on. Things got so bad with all the fighting and swearing that I started to cut myself. I don't do it anymore. I've also learned quite a bit about cutting because I did a term paper about it for my psychology class. You see, people sometimes cut themselves to create a physical pain to release a mental pain. So my mom saw these little marks I had on my arms. I paused as I rolled in my sleeves to show them the insides of my arms. You could see little healed scars like tiny twigs branching off in all different directions. Well, Mom saw these marks and just went, well, I tried to think of the right word and came up with crazy. She slapped me in the face and started yelling at me, telling me I'm crazy, and she called Ricardo to see it. He went crazy too, and he was telling me I'm crazy, I'm loco in the head, that no one could ever want me. I paused for a few moments. I just flew out of control, and I guess I put my hands around my mom's neck. I wasn't going to hurt her. I just wanted her to shut up. Then I saw Ricardo holding a bat over his head, and that's the last thing I remember until waking up in the hospital, and my Aunt Lori and Johnny were there. Mr. Morgan said, is there anything else you would like to say? No. Wait, yes. I think it's bad for a mother to choose her boyfriend over her own daughter. Sure, I wasn't perfect, but she should have seen that I was lonely, that I didn't have any friends. My mom's eyes turned away and then down. And how are things now? Mr. Morgan asked. Well, it hasn't been easy going to a new school and making a whole new life, but I have great friends and a great family of Aunt Lori and Johnny who totally support me. So I think I'm going to make it, I said. When Miss Sheldon approached me, my stomach lurched. Her smile, which she flashed so easily both at me and the jury, seemed false, like a snake about to attack. Nicole, how much of this situation do you think you brought upon yourself? Her question went right to me. My God, I always felt that everything was my fault. It was my fault that Johnny was arrested. It was my fault that Aunt Lori had to worry about my graduating to ninth grade. It seemed everything was my fault. I don't think I brought it upon myself. Oh, come on, Nicole. Wasn't your mother beside herself with all of your teenage wild antics? Do you recognize this, Nicole? Miss Sheldon pulled out the doll's head, complete with safety pins and dark makeup. Yes, I was into this gothic stuff for a while. It didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything? It was your mother, a single mother, trying to raise a very rebellious teen girl who was into all sorts of unusual stuff. Do you recognize this, Nicole? Miss Sheldon presented evidence from a classic hat. It was a sharp razor blade that looked like it had blood on it. I'm not sure. Well, when we did DNA testing of the blood on this razor blade, we determined it was indeed your blood and that the injuries inflicted on your body were self-inflicted. I could hear mumblings from the row where I knew Lo and Blondie were sitting. Do you mean, Miss Sheldon, that I hit myself on the head with a baseball bat? 1 point for me. Of course not. But when you place your hands around your mother's throat, the mother that gave birth to you and raised you to the best she knew for 14 years, when you place your hands around your mother's throat, do you think the defendant may have thought that you were going to inflict harm upon your mother like you inflict harm upon yourself? I object. Blondie stood up in the courtroom. Yo, she don't know what she's talking about. Nikki not strangling her mother. She just hating on her for all the hating she got in her life from her. Order in the court. Bailiff, will you please escort this young lady from the courtroom? Blondie was led from the courtroom, making all sorts of comments like, take your hands off me. I know how to walk. Think this court is a big. Once there was silence in the courtroom again. Miss Sheldon repeated her question. When you place your hands around your mother's throat, do you think the defendant may have thought that you were going to inflict harm upon your mother like you inflict harm upon yourself? I say clearly, if he thought that, then I think he should have taken his hands over mine and pulled my hands from my mother's. You see, I weigh 125 pounds, and he weighs 225 pounds. So I think he could have easily done that to stop our struggle. I do think Ricardo was the one who went a little crazy when he hit me on the head with the baseball bat. No further questions, Miss Sheldon said. The evidence will speak for itself. It certainly will, I added. Someone once told me that whoever gets the last word in wins. In my heart, I felt I had won. Chapter 21, The Defense. Julie Allen to the witness stand, Miss Sheldon announced to the courtroom. Seeing my mom on the witness stand testifying against me, her own daughter, was unbelievable. I had always loved my mom, no matter how badly she treated me at times. She was the only mom I had, and as they say, we don't get to pick our parents. I accepted her with all her flaws, but she never accepted me with my flaws. Over the years, she let herself go, gaining more and more weight, and I think losing her self-respect. She turned to Ricardo to help her feel young and pretty again, but he was just looking for a roof to sleep under. Now, Miss Adams, do you love your daughter? Yes, I love Nicole very much, but the girl got problems too big for me to deal with alone. What kind of problems did Nicole have? When she turned 13, a teenager, she turned into one of those girls you see on TV shows, all crazy and wild into voodoo and stuff. Can you explain, please? She started wearing all black clothes, and then she put this white powder makeup on and wore black lipstick and thick black eyeliner. She spooked even me. People didn't like looking at her. They think she's into witchcraft or something, and then it looks bad on me. Naturally, she's concerned about herself, I thought. She's so self-absorbed. Did things get better or worse, Miss Sheldon asked sweetly, acting as my mom was the most caring mother in the world. Oh, they got worse. She started carrying around that doll's head, the one you showed to the jury. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed help. Help? Miss Sheldon asked. Yes, that's when I met Ricardo. My mother stopped talking briefly, turned to look straight at Ricardo, and smiled sweetly. He was my whole world. He made me laugh. He helped me with money. He tried to be a father to Nicole, but she wanted no part of that. She fought against him no matter how nice he tried to be to her. She was far gone. Can you tell us what happened on the night of December 27th? Nicole was home from school on winter break, and all she does is mope around the house and doing nothing. She always reading a book or writing in that journal, and then I see the marks on her arms. I say to her, Nicole, what are you doing to yourself? Are you cutting your arms? Nicole testified that you slapped her in the face, Miss Adam. Is that true? No, it's not like that. Ever since she was a baby, I corrected her by giving her a little love tap across her face. It's training. Can a mother train her own child anymore? And then what happened? I called Ricardo and asked him to look at the scars and see what he thought. But Nicole refused to show him the scars, and she just went crazy. She leaped at me, started to strangle me. I couldn't breathe. My head was spinning. I thought I was going to die. What happened next? Thank God Ricardo stopped her. Maybe he could have stopped her with his hands, but you had to see her. She was wild and crazy. He took the closest thing he could find, a bat, but he just tapped her to scare her. She cracked her head when she fell, so it was her own fault. She brought it on her own self. There were those words again. I thought, crazy, my own fault. I brought it on myself. How could she say he only loved tap me? She's lying against her own daughter. What did you do then? We called 911 because she's bleeding, and then the ambulance came and took her away. Then the cops came and they arrested Carlo, and I got in trouble too with Child Protective Services. That's why Nicole's living with my sister now in New York. Mrs. Adams, do you still love your daughter, Nicole? I do. Honest, Judge, I do. But right is right, and Ricardo, he's a good man. He doesn't deserve to go to jail just because he saved my life. Nothing further, Miss Sheridan concluded. My prosecuting attorney approached the witness stand for cross-examination. Good afternoon, Miss Adams. Now, you say Nicole was experimenting with dressing differently like many teenagers do. Did you ever get Nicole help with counseling if you felt she had severe problems? No, I'm just a single mother struggling to live day to day. I ain't got no means for all that. I watch TV though. Maury, Montel, and I learn a lot. I wish I could have sent her to a boot camp or something because that's usually straighten them out. Did you notice a change in Nicole's appearance by Christmas vacation? Yes, she was looking like herself again. She had given up the white pancake makeup and black lipstick. So did it seem like Nicole was happier? Oh yes, she was real happy on Christmas. So why did you call her name such as Krazy? Those arms all chopped up like little tree branches. Person got to be crazy to cut their own self. Could you tell because we're fresher if they were healed? They were healed and all, but still, it scared me. Did Nicole do drugs, Miss Adam? Them things. Anything's possible. Isn't it true that Nicole was anti-drugs and anti-smoking and tried to get you to stop smoking for years? She's always bugging me about that, yes. Did you ever think to sit down and talk to Nicole calmly about why she got into cutting? No, I needed a man's help. It ain't easy being a single mom. She put her head down and began crying. Nicole couldn't figure out if she was really crying or putting on a good show for the jury. You said you gave Nicole love taps across her face her whole life. Mr. Morgan presented a photo of my face after my injury. You could still see a red slap mark across my face. Would a love tap leave a red mark like this across her face? My mother looked up at the photo, just continued to cry, holding her head in her hands. No further question, Mr. Morgan concluded. Miss Sheldon arose and stated, defense calls Ricardo Velasquez to the stand. Have you even seen some of the old Adams family reruns? Remember Uncle Fester, the bald-headed uncle? Well, Ricardo looked a lot like him. He had a big oversized head, which was completely bald. He had a high forehead and thick bushy eyebrows. His lips were thin and his teeth were crooked and yellow. He was about 5'8" and weighed about 225 pounds. Mr. Velasquez, can you please tell the court what happened on the night of December 27th? Miss Sheldon began. Hulu, call me to the room, he began. I know you meant my mother, Julie. He said Hulu because I'm used to his strong, raspy accent, but Miss Sheldon asked him to clarify. Hulu? Miss Sheldon asked. Yes. He said, Jess, Hulu, he said, pointing to my mother. Yes, Julie Adams. Okay, please continue. Hulu called me to the room. I see Wildcat strangling her. Hoolie's face turned blue. Her eyes bulging out, you know. He marched with his fingers by his eyes and pulling out motions, imitating how they were bulging. I know the girl is not right in the head, he said. Then, looking like he was sharing a secret with Miss Sheldon, he added again, pointing with his fingers, this time to the side of his head, local in the head. Miss Sheldon seemed taken aback by his testimony and seemingly trying to move things along. She said, what did you do then? I do what any man do to protect his love. He paused to look at my mother and smiled widely. Exposing his crooked yellow teeth. I pushed the wildcat up. I thought I used a broom. I not know it was a bat. Miss Sheldon, so you thought you had picked up a broom, not a bat. Jess, I just want to push the wildcat off, not hurt the wildcat. She already loco. Not need to be more loco. Miss Sheldon looked like she was sorry she ever called Ricardo to the stand. No further questions. Mr. Morgan approached the witness stand for cross-examination. Ricardo, are you a U.S. citizen? I am process. I see. And do you have a permanent job? I am handyman. I do a little bit this, a little bit that. I see. So when you moved into Miss Adams' home, you didn't have to pay rent, did you? I give Hulu, I give Hulu money to help. What did you think of Miss Adams' daughter, Nicole? She scares me. How so? She might put a hex on me. She into voodoo. I see. Can you describe for the court what a broom looks like? A broom has a long handle and straw on the end. Can you describe for the court what a bat looks like? It's wood. Do you know the difference between a bat and a broom? I know, but who leaves turning blue? I just grabbed the closest thing. Why didn't you just pull Nicole's hand off her mother? Why? I don't know. I guess because she was like a wildcat and she might claw me. He paused the air, imitating a lion clawing someone. No further questions, Mr. Morgan said, chuckling to himself. Chapter 22, The Deliberation. The trial broke for lunch and the jury was requested for deliberation. We left the courtroom and went to the cafeteria, which was located in the same building. Blondie, who had been waiting outside on a bench, joined us, so it was me, Aunt Lori, Blondie, and Love. I think we won, Aunt Lori said optimistically. I was in deep thought. Win? A mother strike for her own daughter? How can anyone really win? Yes, if Ricardo went to jail, it would be justice. But the lingering effects of the trial, the hunty words said by my mother, such as crazy, wild, spooky, would cling far after the trial's verdict. Nicole, I said, I think we won. I snapped myself out of my troubling thoughts. Yes. Didn't Ricardo look foolish up there? How about when he pawed the air with his hand? I offered. Lo added, I almost burst out laughing when I saw that. I can't believe your mom can love him. Blondie moaned. Man, my big mouth got me thrown out and I missed the best part. I hope they let me in for the verdict. When that's going to be. Aunt Lori explained. The members of the jury are in seclusion now and they must make a unanimous decision about whether Ricardo is guilty or not guilty. If one person thinks differently than the other jurors, it's a hung jury and we have to do this all over again. At the mention of that, I went pale. There's no way I can go through this again. Seeing my mom choose him over me and hearing the things they said about me. Now, don't go worrying about that. We just have to hope for the best. After four of us enjoyed our lunch, I couldn't help but wonder where my mom was. I mean, Aunt Lori was her own sister, and I'm her daughter. Aunt Lori, I began, will my mom ever talk to us again? Yes, child, she will. Just give it time. As they say, time heals all wounds. Your mother would come around. I finally had a chance to ask Blondie and Lo what they had meant when they said that they had gotten even with Ashley. What do you mean when you say we got her? What do you do to Ashley? I asked. Ashley got herself in trouble. She thought everyone would think what she did was cool, but nobody thought it was cool. Everybody thought it was a mean trick. We couldn't believe she stooped so low to do something like that, Blondie said. Lo added, yeah, and Miss Randolph was so mad. My friend Raul is the cameraman for the TV production studio, and he said she went off on Ashley telling her she could be sued for libel and copyright infringement and all sort of stuff. Aunt Lori and Ginger agreed. What are you talking about, girls? Blondie said, you didn't tell her. Aunt Lori said suspiciously, tell me what. So I confessed everything to Aunt Lori, all about how awful the event was and how I faked being sick because I couldn't face going to school. I wish you would have told me this all earlier. How devastated I could have helped. Nicole, please promise me this. You can always come to me with any problems you have. Jill, but I still don't understand how Ashley got my journal. It's never out of my hands except when Miss Gonzalez is grading it. Lo explained. That's how it happened. Remember when Miss Gonzalez had a substitute teacher because she had to go to a conference? Well, the journals were stacked up on the counter, and Ashley just went in there and helped herself. She made copies of the poems she used on air and returned the journal without anyone being the wiser. Oh my God, I can't believe it, I said. What did Blake say about all of this? He was totally cool, Lo said. He went to Ashley and told her that she is a major diva who thinks the world revolves around her and he would never go back with her and that's why It's going out with you no matter what. The memory of Blake made me homesick for New York. And guess what, Blondie said with an air of mystery. What, I asked. Ashley was fired from her job as anchor. She's not allowed on air anymore. Oh my God, I exclaimed. We were so pumped from the excitement of the storytelling that we ordered desserts around the table and filled in Aunt Lori on many of the goings on at school. We were interrupted by Mr. Morgan, who came to our table and said the jury has a verdict. And Aunt Lori said, already? Is that good or bad? Mr. Morgan answered, we'll see in a moment. Chapter 23. As I sat there waiting for the verdict, I was just relieved that it wasn't a hung jury. There's no way I could ever go through that trial again. Guilty or innocent, it was over. Or was it? Would the words said at this trial have any lingering effects on me? After everyone was seated, the judge addressed the foreperson of the jury. Has the jury reached a verdict? He asked. A tall African American woman stood up and said in a clear voice, we have, Your Honor. The judge continued, how do you so find the defendant, Ricardo Velasquez, in the charge of assault consummated by a battery upon a child under 16 years? We, the jury, find the defendant, Ricardo Velasquez, guilty. The court thanks the jury for its work in this trial. The court will set a date for sentencing, the judge announced. I need to see the mother of the minor child and the custodial caregiver of the minor child and lawyers to my bench at this time. What was that all about, I wondered. I saw a bunch of papers being shuffled between my Aunt Lori, Mom, and lawyers. Aunt Lori sat next to me where I was sitting and gave me a little hug. I have full custody of you now, Nicole. You, me, and Johnny, we're going to be a family. But what about Mom, I thought. I looked over to where she was standing holding some legal documents. She looked all alone and dazed. But what about Mom? She'll always be your mom, Aunt Lori said. Do you want to say something to her? Yes. I walked over to my mom and said, Mom, you, what do you want? Haven't you ruined enough already? So that's how it's going to be, I asked. Be Wilder? Yes, that's how it's going to be. And my mom walked out of the courtroom and out of my life. 24. Back at Thomas Edison Junior High School. My first day back at Thomas Edison Junior High wasn't as bad as I imagined it would be. The reason I skipped school after Ashley read my poetry on Edison TV is because I thought everybody was going to laugh at me. After exposing my deepest feelings to the entire school, I imagined everyone talking about me, saying how crazy I was, and on and on. But it wasn't like that. Ashley had been dethroned from her spot on Edison TV and was replaced by Melody Goodman, who was equally talented. The very fact that she lost her role as news anchor was important. People I didn't even know acknowledged me by nodding their head and giving me a little smile of encouragement. Blake looked so happy to see me, and he said, don't ever do that to me again. I was so worried about you. Don't you know you can trust me? Why didn't you take any of my calls? I told him all about how I felt and shared all the details of the trial with him. Well, not all the details. Some things were still bothering me. I knocked on a familiar classroom door. Miss Parker, can I talk to you for a moment? Why, certainly, Nicole. Please come in. Here, sit down, she said kindly. She sat next to me, and one of the student assistants said, so what's on your mind? I suppose you've heard how I had to go to Fort Lauderdale to testify against my mom's boyfriend who hit me with a baseball bat, which put me in a coma last January. Yes, I'm aware of that. How did it go? He was found guilty and will be going to jail for a few years. Good. He deserved it. Yes, but then why do I feel badly about it? Why do I feel like it's all my fault? Did anyone say it was your fault? Yes, my mother did. We didn't leave on a very good terms. I went to her and was going to say something like I'd write to her and I'd call her, but she just shut me down. She'll regret that someday. None of it is your fault, Nicole. You're just a child. She's the parent. She should have been protecting you and looking after you. But I did have my hands around her throat. I just wanted her to shut up. She was making fun of me after seeing my cut marks on my arms. I rolled up my sleeve and showed them to Miss Parker. I see, but there's no fresh cuts, Nicole, correct? That's in the past, right? I actually have been cut from months. I almost broke down in trial when I saw my mom on the defense side, defending her boyfriend against me, her own daughter. But Lo and Blondie found me, and I was so happy and surprised to see them. I lost all interest in cutting, and I'm never doing it again. And that reminds me, I need to thank Miss Gonzalez for sponsoring them to come to my trial. Nicole, when your mom and Ricardo put you down, that's verbal abuse. You don't have to listen to those voices anymore. You need to set yourself free. Now and every day, you need to fill yourself with positive thoughts of knowing that you are talented and worthy of love. I know. Positive, outrageous women earning respect. POWER, right? That's right. Sometimes we get into what is called a codependent relationship, like when a person is an alcoholic and the family members feel like it's their fault that the alcoholic drinks. It's like that with your mom. She blames you and you're allowing yourself to feel the blame. But she needs to take the responsibility for her own actions or lack of actions. You'll always love your mom, and I'm sure you'll both reconciliate someday, or maybe not. But you can no longer allow her actions and recall those actions to control you. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Because it's very important. Yes, my mind understands exactly what you're saying. It'll take a little while for my heart to completely understand. All in good time, Miss Parker added. Keep coming to our POWER meetings. I often have special guests such as representatives from Al-Anon, and they can help you in any codependent relationships that are hurting you or keeping you from reaching your true potential. Thanks, Miss Parker. It was great talking to you. I said, I truly meant that with my whole heart. Chapter 25, Krazy White Girl. Yesterday was the last day of school, and yes, thank God, I'm being promoted to the ninth grade. It's a year I'll never forget, no matter how old I get. When I look back at everything that happened to me in just 1 year, starting off in Mr. Martin's DOP class, cutting, the fighting, and being near death in a coma, moving to New York, meeting my best friends, Lo and Blondie, going out with Blake, testifying at Ricardo's trial, I feel like I really survived some major challenges. I felt my strongest when I was believing in myself and not doubting and blaming myself. Like Miss Parker helped me to understand, I learned not to just focus on myself, but to trust my friends and new family, Lori and Johnny. I learned that I don't always have to go through everything alone. Looking fondly at my marble black and white composition journal, I know that writing will always be an important part of my life. I am enthralled with its mystery and power. Miss Parker said we have to have dreams and goals. Maybe someday I'll be a professional writer or help children express their feelings through writing. Miss Parker's POWER group has helped me to learn not to be a victim, not even just a survivor, but a winner, and to take responsibility for the choices I make in life. Before this year, I was a girl who didn't have any goals, but performing outstage in poetry slams, learning to trust friends like Blondie, Lo, and Blake, I've changed. I have new dimensions to myself that a simple word like crazy can no longer label and limit. For once in my life, I feel free. This is the ending. Transformation. Like a butterfly discovering a whole new life, I emerged with wings I never knew existed. Afterward, you are not alone. To teens who live with abuse on a daily basis, you too can ask and seek for help. You can make a difference in your life. It's never too late to change. Visit my website for more exciting news about the trilogy of books about students from Mr. Martin's Dropout Prevention class. www.marymonroebooks.com. Coming soon, Taggart, the third novel in the Monty Middle School trilogy. Until next time, guys. And that's the end. That's the end. That's the end. I wanted to read out here so y'all can hear me read in the rain, y'all. Crazy white girl. Boom, boom, boom.